Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be talking about textures and how you can make your own. If you want your work to feel unique and to really own everything you're putting into it, then you can start by making your own textures and applying them to your work to make your work feel your own. That's what I did after many years of using other textures from other suppliers. When I first started getting into this kind of work, I did exactly what I'm sure anybody else does and downloaded a bunch of packs from True Grit, which were great for a long time, until I really started creating that dark, really gritty work that just wasn't working with those textures. They're very fine detail textures, they're great, and I decided I wanted some big, dark, deep, chunky textures for my own work, and I couldn't find what I wanted, so I went out and made them. Here is how we can do that. There's a few files that you might find useful for today's session. If you would like to head over to the link in the description, it's on my website. This here, the texture actions set, basically just a couple of actions you can import into Photoshop to speed up the process that we're going to go through today. The fundamentals that we'll talk about will work with any photo manipulation software like Photopea or Affinity, but that file there is for some Photoshop actions. I don't know if you can import them or anything like that, but I made them in Photoshop, so that's what they're for. And there's a few reference photos in there as well of things that I've taken photographs of for my own texture packs. So you can use those actions today with me on those images and get a feel for how this whole thing works. This is what you'll see if you download the pack. You have your textures. These are just some photos of some things that I took photos of to make some cool textures with, and you can use them too as you like, as you wish. And there's the actions that I'm going to show you how to import those into Photoshop. So let's fire up Photoshop now and have a look, shall we? There's a cheeky little preview of it's not zooming into where my mouse is, but can I open that up? There we go. That was nice and quick. A little preview of something I've been working on with a new font that will be going live sometime soon, but less on that right now. We're going to open up one of these textures from the pack that you've downloaded, and here we have our texture, our reference photo rather, before we turn it into a texture. And essentially what we're doing here is going to image, adjustments, threshold again, and then just adjusting the threshold until we've got the texture that we're looking for, whether you want it to be a really harsh black texture or just the little white crackles or the little shadows in there. It's the light moving across the surface that you're manipulating to make the shadow, to make the texture look the way you want it to. Now, when I'm making my textures, I work quite large, so I make them pretty big. I make them 1200 DPI, 16K resolution, which is pretty big. And when I'm doing this, I'm quite often working with a batch of photos. I will usually take photos over just with my phone. Super simple, super easy. No need to go out with some crazy camera because you're going to be filtering everything anyway. And the best camera is the one you always have with you, right? Unless you're Paris Hilton's photographer. But if you collect photographs of things that you think look cool, whether it's a cool patch of ground, some broken flagstones maybe, some cool tree bark, a nice pattern on the side of a building, some cool drips you see hanging down off the bottom of some graffiti, cracked walls, brick textures. There's cool textures all around you all the time, and once you start looking for them, you'll notice them a lot. My wife is telling me off all the time because I'm constantly like ducking off down little alleyways to take photos of the floor, which apparently is socially unacceptable, but I refuse to bow down to societal norms. My thirst for textures knows no bounds. Once you have a bunch of photos and you've imported them to your computer, you can do that using Google Photo is the easiest if you've got an Android, or iPhoto is great if you've got an iPhone and a Mac. That's a pretty seamless setup. Otherwise, you can also use OneDrive. I quite like OneDrive, although OneDrive is better for the other way around because it's quite seamlessly integrated with your computer. But OneDrive is another option you can use, or Dropbox, or if you're doing a whole batch at once, WeTransfer works as well. But Google Photos or iPhoto is the most seamless way. Once you've got a bunch of photos and you're opening them up in Photoshop, you can hit Control-Alt-I and resize them to whatever size you want. But once you've made them massive, you'll realize that they're quite low resolution, a bit grainy, and once you start applying the threshold, in fact, let's do it here, let's do it. 16,000, 1200 dpi. So you do that, and when you zoom right in and start applying your threshold, that you can get some sort of like around here, like you start getting nasty artifacting. Like I don't know why this is not zooming right into my mouse anymore. It just zooms into the same place every time. I don't know what it's doing today, but this one here, basically, it can get a bit finicky when you're working with stuff that size. So what I like to do is apply a blur across the top of everything, just to sort of soften it off, not too much, 2 or 3 pixel radius Gaussian blur, Gaussian blur, I don't know. And then you can apply you get a much smoother finish. That's just my preference, but yeah, you get a smoother finish to it. But if you're doing that with, say, 100 photos, like I had in my texture pack when I was doing them, I was like, good lord, how am I going to do that 100 times in a row? Well, Photoshop has a fab little tool called Actions. It is this play button down the side here. It's working again, yay! This play button down the side here shows you your Actions tab. And you'll see down the bottom here, I have my anesthetic textures, actions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those actions right now. And then I'm going to show you how to import those. So if we, in your Actions tab here, click the little plus symbol, you'll get this box come up in the middle here. No, that's for recording new ones. Yeah, it is this little burger menu up at the top here, and in here you can click, good lord, load actions. When you hit load actions, you can head to the spot on your computer where you have said actions, where you've downloaded them to. Mine are in there, and you will see this action set that you can import. Hit load there on the ones that you downloaded, and then you see you've got texture processing and texture individual. So I'll first show you. Let's close this and just open it up fresh again to stop all the messing around. So you can see here we've got the JPEG in there, and on this texture processing you'll see there is a shortcut, Control F2, right? So if you imagine you had 100 of these open, you hit Control F2, and boom, it's saved it out. It should have saved it in there. It hasn't done so. Delete current layer. Let's try that again. Control F2. It's going well, isn't it? What that should do, at least, is I'm sure it's worked. It's just saved it somewhere strange, but that will help you. That will basically allow you to churn through hundreds of images over and over to be able to speed up the process of going through a lot of textures at the same time. That makes things fast. What it doesn't give you is a lot of control. If you're just working through a few images at once, we have the texture individual here, which you'll see is Control F3. So if we hit that one, that will turn everything into a smart object, which has the filters applied to it, as you can see at the side here. So we have the Gaussian blur, we have the threshold on it already, so you can double click that, and you can then, you have this upscaled to a massive size, which you can then adjust the thresholding yourself. You can even adjust the blur yourself if you particularly want. So you want to see what happens when you put a massive blur on it, and then you get this funky textures and see how different things work. Make things your own, basically. And then from there, you can then go and save out as a, I like to save them as a TIFF, because that just keeps everything super crisp, super high res, and that's how I save out my textures, and then I use them in my work. There we go. It's yeah, a simple one, that one, but it's often overlooked. Everything's always about, how do I download free textures offline? Where can I find the best textures? Well, you don't. All the best textures are all around you, on torn up posters on the street. Like I said, like cracked pavements and dripping graffiti, all sorts. I have some texture packs on my website. There is the first one I ever uploaded was the first 100 textures I made. That's on sale for half price at the minute. Texture pack 1. There's also a sample pack if you'd like to take a look at just like the quality of the textures. And I'm working on another pack at the minute. Called, my first one is called Texture 1. And my second one is called Texture 2, funnily enough. I'm trying to curate this one a bit more. The first one was basically just the ones I'd made for myself personally. and I pop them up online in case they'd be useful to anyone else. Texture 2, as you can see here, the gradient pattern refine spatter, so that I have like more of an idea of what I want to curate the textures in this next pack, so that'll be up online soon. New font going up online soon as well. It's a cool black letter sort of headline font. It's got alternate ending letters, so you can change the letters at the end of the font. You saw a little bit of that earlier, a cheeky preview. But yeah, that one's a faster one than usual, but not as much to that one. Just wanted to show you guys how you can make your own textures to put in your own work and make your work really your own. Ownability is a big part of being a creative, and if you can own everything that you've put into your work, then power to you. That's everything for this time around. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I will be back a similar time next week. I hope you have a good one. Catch you next time.